Guten Tag, ich bin John von EastCoastArmory.com, and for those of you wondering why am I speaking German, it's in spirit of my next project, which will be this 1/6 scale, static, scratch build German Tiger 1. This model here is completely scratch build, unlike my previous builds which were reworking of kits that were currently on the market. This model here was completely scratch built from the ground up. This model's hull that you see here is about 10 years old. It was originally started in 2001, along with several other Tiger 1 hulls that were originally going to be built for sale as pre-finished, pre-built models. However, the plan never really materialized, and so now I am just building up these hulls when I get around to them. This model here will be built as an initial production Tiger 1 and will be all Panzer Gray, along with several other initial production Tiger 1 details added. The model's construction is entirely made from 1/4 inch thick Louvain plates. Louvain being a type of plywood. It's about 1/4 inch thick and gives you some very nice structure. This is the same type of plywood that I use on pretty much all of my builds. The plywood itself is thoroughly coated with fiberglass resin, both interior and exterior, which makes it very rigid and gives you some very nice support. The fiberglass resin, besides eliminating the wood grain, is also very handy in making the model weatherproof and also giving it much more strength and structural support. As we can see from this close-up view, the wood grain that was originally in the panels is completely deleted and has been sanded flush and nice and smooth. This surface now can easily adapt to adding detailed components to it, as well as adding paint. Start with the tank's turret. The tank's turret is all fabricated out of wood and sheet metal. Again, all wood surfaces have been coated with fiberglass resin and will be sanded once I get to the tank's turret. As we can see here on the tank's front, the sheet metal that's used for the side plating is very thin, and pieces of resin or wood are going to be mounted over here that are going to give you the scale thickness of the actual steel armor plate of the turret. For the tank's mantlet, I will be using this old mantlet casting. This mantlet here is casted in resin and is as old as the hulls itself, which means it's about 10 or so years old. The mantle itself is in decent shape and is properly scaled and will be used after some tweaks are added to it. This tank will be built as an initial production Tiger 1, because of which this integral molded in piece of armor here will be deleted and milled away, along with this little strip of armor here too. Moving our way to the hull. The hull itself is all one piece and has all of the lines added in. As we can see here, the Tiger 1's upper hull shift was added, as well as the front armor plate thickness was also built into the upper hull. Similar to what I had to do to the turret, I had to add thickener strips to the two front toe shackles here, because since the tank is only 1/4 inch thick, the material, thickeners were added to give you the illusion that the hull is actually, the plates are actually the proper thickness. With the hull being one piece, the model is more structurally sound and does give you a better base to work with when it comes to scratch building the suspension and other details. We can see here, currently I'm working on the tank's underhull detailing. I have already completed the tank's welding, sponson welding, and lower plate welding. All the welds are all sculpted by hand out of an epoxy. Final drive reinforcements were added and are scratch built out of thick plastic. And the side armor strip here, support strip, angle strip, has been added. Just as per the real Tiger 1. On the top portion of the support strip that meets the sponson are rivets, round dome head rivets. While on the other portion, the rivets would be on the interior, so all that you would see would be the round circular hole. Besides the riveting, these pieces were also welded to the hull. These round objects here are the mounts for the tank shock absorbers that would hold the first two and the last two torsion bars in place, giving them more strength to support the weight of the heavy vehicle. As a note, on the reverse side of the tank, you can see that the shock absorber mounts are in different locations. This is because on pretty much all German tanks, the torsion bars on one side will angle in one direction, and the torsion bars on the other side will angle in the reverse direction there. Towards the front end of the vehicle, we can see that the tank's final transmission drives have been added. These transmission final drives are already on the EastCoastArmory.com product line and are currently available. Around the final drives, we can see the armored cheek. This cheek here is to prevent any shells that would penetrate and hit the final drive, which would disable the vehicle. Since we're at the rear of the vehicle, we can also see that the rear portion of the details have been added. Towards the outside, we can see the addition of the toe shackle mounts. These mounts here are fabricated out of fiberglass plywood and have been mounted to the rear of the tank. In addition to the welds, like we've seen in the front, we can also see here that the rear portion of the idler mounts have been added. This whole cluster here is actually all Captain Resin and are all listed on the EastCoastArmory.com product line. The track derailleur system has been retooled from the original track aligner system, and its function would be on the real tank is that when the idler would be turning, if any track pins would get loose, this device would knock them back into their proper slots. A similar device was also found on the Russian T-34 and served the exact same function. As for the idler mounts set comes with the adjustable idler mount and the idler mount hub. The system is fully adjustable, and you can adjust your idler track tension as per the real vehicle. This system is designed to have a threaded shaft that is then bolted to the inside of the vehicle, and you would then tighten that with a wrench once you get to your proper track tension. All hardware, including the threaded shaft, are included with the set. The idler mount and the final drives out of the way, the next step is going to be to design the tank's functional torsion bar suspension. This model was originally designed to have a static suspension with steel rods that ran on the inside portion of the hull. However, with the new tooling that I have, I want to go ahead and fabricate a full functioning suspension. So the original holes were plated over and have been deleted. New masters are currently in the works now and will be released soon. The tank also will have some bump stops here, and these bump stops are currently already on the EastCoastArmory.com product line and will be used as is. And that concludes this Project Start video for the static 1/6 scale scratch built German Tiger 1. Stay tuned for more progress and more detailed components. Thank you.